Hi everyone, welcome back to Quilting with Sandy. Today we're going to start that red and white quilt that I am dying to get into. I cut up all my fabric, I'm ready to go. First thing we're going to do is strip set number one. Strip set number one looks just like this. It's a background, a red, a background, a red, a background. We're just going to sew these together in pairs with the red and the white, the red and the white, and then I'm going to add the last white. I'm going to iron everything to the dark color, so whatever you're using, just iron all to the dark, and then everything will line up later. We need 3 full strip sets of these, which is full width of fabric, and then we need 1 strip set that's only 15 inches long, all of these. So we're going to cut these in 15 inches. They're in your cutting instructions. So I'm going to go ahead and sew my strip sets together. I'll meet you back here, and we'll cut them up into, we'll subcut them, and then we'll go on to strip set number 2. Okay, I have all of my strip set number 1s put together. This is the small piece. It's white, red, and again, these are 2.5 inch strips. You need 3 full width of fabric. The 4th one is only 15 inches. We're going to use the rest for the other strip sets. So now I'm going to line this up on my cutting board. I'm going to trim a nice edge. I like to not just follow the edge of the fabric, but also follow some of these seams, so I kind of eyeball across there that everything's kind of running true. If you get a little off, just trim yourself a new cut line. It's okay. I like to cut this way, so I'm going to flip it over. Get my 2.5 lined up on the edge of my fabric. Watch these lines that they're running pretty true and pretty straight. Sometimes when you're sewing strip sets, if you're not careful, you iron them a little wonky. If that happens, just take it back to the ironing board, get it straight, use a straight edge, give it a little tug, a little spray starch or steam or a little water even, and you can make it go the way you want. Take that little curve out of it or whatever you have. I don't have a ton of problems, but sometimes I do iron a little messed up. So I'm going to cut all of these strip sets into 2.5 inch strips. I need 54 to do my quilt. So the second strip set number 2, is 2.5 inch strips again, but this time it's going to be red, white, red, white, red. So just the opposite of what we just did. You need 2 strips of this and a short piece, and I can't remember the number of the short piece, but I'll get it for you. And, oh, it's 10.5 inches, sorry. So those last couple pieces that we cut up into weird strips, you need 10.5 inches and 2 full strip sets. And that'll save our fabric. We won't have so much waste, and we'll have just the right amount of parts. Okay, I'm going to sew these together same way I did before. I'm going to put a color and a background together, sew all the way down, and then press to the dark. Well, I've just been a sewing fool here today. I got all my strip set 1s sewn together and cut into 2.5 inch strips. I needed 54 of those. I got all my strip set 2s put together, cut into 2.5 inch strips, and I need 36 of those. And I'm going to put together strip set 3, even though I don't need it right away. I'm just on a roll of doing strip sets. So for strip set 3, what you need is that 6.5 inch strip that we cut, and 2 red 2.5 inch strips, and we're going to sew red on each side. Then that last piece that we cut in half, and then we cut a little piece out for those, we're going to cut 2 6.5 by 2.5 inch rectangles and 4 2.5 by 2.5 inch red squares, and these are just going to get sewn on the end here. Now if you have very wide fabric, or if you're using batik, you may not even need to do this. You may get enough out of each strip set my strip sets, I only really have 40 inches, so I had to do it this way. So I wrote the pattern that way just in case. If you have a very generous selvage that you need to cut off, I wanted to make sure you had enough fabric. You'll have a little bit of scraps, but not that much, considering we cut that one strip down to 15 inches and then we just pieced along from there. So I'm going to sew my reds onto my center backgrounds, one on each side. I'm going to press to the red, then I'll sew those little squares on, and I'll meet you back here once these are all cut up to 2.5 inch strips, same as the other ones. I have my strip set 3 completed. I made 2 full width of fabric ones. So they're the 2.5 reds and the 6.5 background white, whatever you're using. And 2 little pieces that we cut out of that half strip, which are 6.5 of the white or the background and 2.5 inch squares of the red. I am not going to subcut all these up yet because I'm not ready to use them, so I'm just going to put a little clip on here and put them aside until I'm ready to use them. What I'm going to do now is sew together my block number 1. For that you need 3 strip set 1, which are the whites on the top and bottom, strip set 1. Then we're going to take 2 of the strip set number 2 with the red on the top and the bottom, and we're going to put them in between, and that's going to give us our 5x5 block that'll make our block number 1. So I'm just going to sew these together and match them up, pairs of 2. I'm nesting each one of those little seams. After I sew a seam, I go down and make sure the next 2 match up. And then the ends. So I'm just going to finger press these towards strip set number 2, which is the one with the red on the ends. Then they'll match up with our next block. So I'm going to take the first one and attach this last piece on. Again, I'm going to finger press it towards strip number 2, which has the red on the outside. And the other one, which is our 5th one, same thing, towards the red ones. Strip 2s. Then I'm going to sew this set of 3 to this set of 2. And I'm just going to make sure that I have all 4 white in the corner so I don't have it messed up. I don't want to pull any more stitches. Alright, there's block number 1. Number 1 of number 1. We need a total of 18 of these, so I'm going to make 17 more. I'm going to put them up on my board so I can show you. And then we'll talk about, I am going to press them too. We'll talk about the next block when I come back. Well, I completed all 18 of my patch blocks, block number 1. I got them up here on the board so you guys can take a look. The setting is 3 across the top row, 2 in the second, 3 in the fourth, blah, 2, 3, 2, 3, all the way down. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows from top to bottom and 5 across the top. So we need a total of 35 blocks. I did 18 of these. I'm going to do 17 of the star block. I drew a picture of the star block so you can take a look. It will, of course, measure out the same as the patch block. We're going to use our 5.5-inch squares that we cut and strip piece 3 that we already made for the most part. We just have to trim up. This was lots of fun. It went really, really fast. Making those strip pieces ahead of time. Well, not ahead of time. Making those strip pieces and then putting these blocks together all in strips is way faster than trying to do little squares. I think I banged this out in a couple hours. What are we going to call this quilt? I don't know. We have to think on that. Well, it's time to go back to work for the week. I'll see you guys next week. Bye!